Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Night at the Theater. So, we just saw Godzilla. In it, two ancient beasts called Mutos awaken and demolish cities, trying to find each other so that they can meet up, mate, and give birth to creatures that will become the new dominant life form on the planet. So it's up to Kick-Ass and Walter White to stop these things before it's too late. Also, Godzilla's in it.
Yeah.
Would you guys agree that's the plot?
Pretty much. In unison, we agree.
Yeah.
Quite in unison.
No, that's very much it.
Yeah, there's some Godzilla in there somewhere.
Little bit.
In the second, 40 minutes in, about 40 minutes, you get the first name drop of the movie, which is just the main character of the movie. I mean, 40 minutes in is the first time you hear the word Godzilla uttered by anyone.
Yeah. They even first call him Gojira, which I'm fine with, but...
I swear that guy was cast in that role just so they had a Japanese guy saying.
Yeah. We called it
Gojira.
See, that was my first question. Who's we?
The Japanese.
Okay,
The people of his organization that has kept it.
Oh yeah.
Monarch.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
so much Mothra
So-
foreshadowing in this movie.
Not even that. I'm sorry.
Foreshadowing, they had it written on the kid's fucking bug collection.
I know, but in the classroom...
Mothra.
At the beginning of... okay, we'll get into the story proper in a second, but in the classroom that we're going to talk about in a second, so many petrified moths all over the place. That first act had so many moths in it. I'm just like, well, gee, now that I know that a sequel's been greenlit, I wonder who's going to show up and who the director thinks is really awesome.
It wasn't so much the classroom, it was actually their old house that
Yeah, a
were
lot of
digging
that
through.
too.
Yeah.
And just, there was that one little bug case in his old bedroom
And it actually
that said moth, and then it looks like somebody tacked on in a piece of masking tape and added an RA to the end. I was laughing my ass off.
No, what
in
it was
the
was
theater.
the tape was over the first part of it. It was supposed to be like a Latin name for something, and it was supposed to be the genus, and so it's like is Mothra, and I'm just like, there was radiation there that's going to slowly but surely turn into a giant deity.
Of course it will. But anyway, so we saw the movie, and I want to put one thing straight right away. We all liked it, right?
Yeah,
It's
oh,
a good.
Sure.
It's a
I
good-
really enjoyed it.
It's a good disaster movie. Like, it's well acted. Bryan Cranston's really good in this.
For when he's in it.
Yeah.
as he is generally.
Yeah. Actually, I liked Aaron Taylor. I don't know his full name. The guy who plays Kick-Ass. He was in it. He was serviceable.
He did fairly good for what it was.
I like Ken Watanabe. You know, I like he's a fine actor. You know, Last Samurai and all that.
Spoken trailer quotes.
Oh, that was all. But that was all this man did. He only did two things this entire movie: speak in trailer quotes like "Let them fight. We are the folly of nature," like stuff like that. And also, he did this thing a lot where he would just look into the distance like this. Like every shot of him was.
No disrespect to the man, but I'm pretty sure he was paid in weed. I'm pretty sure he was paid in the glory of being in the 60th anniversary Hollywood Godzilla movie and ganja.
There you
Because
go.
he was standing there like,
And
Yep.
let them fight.
May I just say, on that note of the 60th anniversary, there was the last actual Godzilla movie was like 10 years ago.
Final Wars.
Yeah, and when it was made, like just before it came out, Toho was very vocal on the fact that would be the last Godzilla movie for about 10 years. And sure enough, Hollywood.
Kept their
Are
promise.
you attempting to insinuate that they knew about this 10 years ago and have been...
Or at very least, they had been in the process of coming up with something themselves, and then some Hollywood guy said, "Hey, we're gonna throw money at it. Let us do it."
Why not?
Yes.
See, before we
Throw
start,
Walter White in it?
yeah. See, before we start the review proper, I think we should all talk about. We are all huge Godzilla fans.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So I think we should talk about quickly, like how we got into Godzilla and like why we like it so much.
Yeah.
You start, Paul.
My dad, monster movie marathons, just flipping through the channels. Oh, Godzilla's on. I love Godzilla. What's Godzilla, Dad? Well, Godzilla is a giant radioactive newt that breathes radiation that fights giant monsters. Cool. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Let's do it! So yeah, that's how I got into Godzilla. It's pretty much like, a lot of people say Power Rangers is the very first tokusatsu. I might not argue that, but there is the idea that Godzilla might actually predate it for me. So
In a way, yeah.
there's a lot of nostalgia value for it. I mean, it really got me respecting the rubber suit acting, the rubber suit productions. It gave me a real love for practical effects. The idea of telling a story with not necessarily the billions and billions of dollars that you need to do it nowadays. It really got me started on like just finding humble roots for filmmaking, and trying to just tell a respectable story about a giant radioactive newt that breathes radiation that kills giant monsters that come to fight Tokyo.
Almost Shakespeare.
Yeah, indeed. Totally. Like, I mean, honestly, it might as well be written in iambic pentameter. Those scripts might as well come to someone on parchment, having been written in quill, and they translate it to folios and quattros, and they put them out to the writers, and they just like receive them by falcon, and then they make these Godzilla films out in the field. Just like there are people on the ready all over Godzilla, just waiting all over Japan, waiting to make a Godzilla film, just waiting for that falcon with the instructions.
So what about you, Raven?
I kind of got into it back in university, though. In my case, it was more of I always knew what Godzilla was, and I had like the general idea, but I never really found the interest to go watch it. And then, like, I don't know, I actually got into it through a webcomic. This webcomic I found where a guy would literally... He would sit down and he'd like take photographs of his little Godzilla toys and he'd make a comic out of it. And this actually got me interested into it, so I kind of started watching some of the old movies. I watched the very first Godzilla movie for a university essay as well. I was comparing it to King Kong.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And they fight.
And
As you do.
And then that happened. But, I was comparing that to their newer films of both of the above. But, so I just went on and I watched a bunch more of them, and I watched Godzilla Final Wars, which was the last actual Godzilla movie prior to this one to be made. So that was a good one.
Yeah, that was fun.
See, I have a very different tale. Allow me to transport you back to 1998, I believe.
Okay.
Could have been 96, I forget.
Yeah!
Anyways, I was a 7-year-old kid around this time, and I of course knew... Yeah. 91, bitches.
Oh man, you're young.
I vaguely, knew Godzilla. Like, it's impossible not to know who Godzilla is, like, through osmosis alone. It's like saying you don't know who Darth Vader is.
Yeah.
You just know.
Yeah.
So then one day, my cousins, I believe, said, hey man, you want to go see the Godzilla movie? I was like, what's that? And we went to go see, this is how it happened, the Roland Emmerich movie of Godzilla. That was my true start to Godzilla. However,
poor boy.
I liked it when I was a kid. And I will admit, it's still a guilty pleasure today.
Fair point.
Poor boy.
So, I said, is there more of this? I want to see more Godzilla.
And then you saw the good stuff.
Then I saw all the great stuff. And there was, not to mention, there was also a kick-ass cartoon show that followed the 98 Godzilla. But that aside, I started watching Godzilla, started falling in love with it, and I think it really helped develop, for me, I love in movies the idea of taking down a giant. That's why I like Godzilla. That's why I like Attack on Titan. Why I like Shadow of the Colossus and like stuff like that. So, yeah, just like from then on, I've loved giant monsters. Like I just think they're so cool. So now that we've talked about that, so this movie, what worked about it, what didn't work? Would you guys say?
Well, let's take a step-by-step look through a little bit. At least give a synopsis of this movie. We don't necessarily need to go
to be fair, I gave the synopsis at the beginning.
Kinda.
Yeah, you gave
I'll explain a bit better, though. So, turns out, now they kind of rewrite history a little bit here.
Yeah.
Where Godzilla isn't actually something, at least as far as we know now, something that was actually created by nuclear tests.
Which I'm pissed about, by the way.
Yeah.
I can see why.
No, I kind of had an appreciation for that, too, where they were going... Hey, you know those nuclear tests that supposedly created Godzilla in the old movies? Yeah, that was us trying to kill it now.
Which is an interesting idea.
So I'm just like, well, at least they referenced the creation.
If and I might... I find that Godzilla works best because she is... This movie keeps referring to Godzilla as a he. It's a she. It's reproduced before it's a she.
No.
Godzilla is...
Sorry, he's always been referred to as a he.
But it's reproduced.
So? It's an asexual being.
I wouldn't say that.
I'm gonna
It
actually
is.
side with Paul on this one.
But
I've seen a lot more reference to it, even in the Japanese version.
No, even in the Japanese, they never call it female though.
Well, in Japanese, they don't really have a solid word for going between he or
to be honest,
she.
it's an it.
Yeah.
What-
They don't really have a solid word to refer to it as one or
Also,
the other.
not my
anyway.
I hate to bring up
That isn't my point.
pedantic schematics here. King of the Monsters.
Not my point.
Also kind of a dubbed title, though.
Yeah,
Not
but
my-
anyways.
Not my point. My point is that Godzilla, I find, has always served best as our biggest fuck up turned into our biggest savior. He, whatever you want to call it, is the worst it is the end result of the worst possible thing we could have ever invented, the hydrogen bomb. It is an irradiated newt, as I said before, in jest, but it is basically an irradiated
A lot
reptile.
of the first couple Japanese movies actually do say it's more like it is like an ancient creature that got further mutated by the nuke. It wasn't like a newt.
Oh yeah, Godzilla
It was
Source.
It was already like exactly. It was already like a thing, but the nuke kind of woke it up and
Still
made it
Actually,
worse.
straight up, the only one that ever said, "Oh, it was just a lizard that mutated," was Gino.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's awful. I
Yeah,
feel bad
that's
about
the
that.
thing.
I feel bad about that. Recant that. But still, the point is, the worst thing we possibly ever invented, the nuclear bomb, awoke this thing, and it became a threat to us. But in the end, it also became our biggest savior because other things also came from that,
Yeah.
from those nuclear tests, and it's protected us on many occasions.
Although in like the Godzilla movies, the actual protector of man monster is actually Mothra.
That's actually
I
true.
know.
It's
Godzilla-
Godzilla's more just the amoral creature and all this. Like, I don't care, but these things are fucking up my shit and my turf.
But this movie paints this Godzilla as a fucking
Yeah,
protector.
I know.
Of
Which-
man.
And even
to
after,
me-
even at the end of the movie, it walked out of San Francisco, obviously trying to avoid buildings.
Did you
on
hear
its
what
way
I?
out.
Did you hear what I said at the end? He'll be back again
Yeah.
someday.
Pretty
Actually,
much.
the best little piece of commentary you gave was the first time we find out that they're following Godzilla to like the island. You said something along the lines, "Come on, guys, we're gonna fight the Mudo." that just summed it up.
That one scene where Godzilla's just been like attacked and he's just like being enveloped in smoke and he's just looking down at Kick-Ass. It's just got the saddest look on his face, and I'm just sitting in my chair like, oh,
Yeah.
Godzilla!
Though once again, I looked at that moment and I kind of saw references to some older movies, because in a lot of old movies there is that one character in a lot of cases that just has that moment with Godzilla, that
Yeah.
one human character that Godzilla is like the reflection of Godzilla in man.
So,
Like sorry, like I was explaining. The whole thing like is turns out that there were these giant monsters back in the day that before even the dinosaurs, and
when our world was more radioactive.
sure,
That was a
Because
thing.
our
I guess.
world creates radioactivity
that's a natural occurrence,
by
I guess.
its own. The core doesn't work like that.
The core is not a radiator. Jesus, the sun is a radiator.
It does produce its own heat because of the fact that it's spinning on the inside.
Yeah.
Sure,
But okay,
but
so
it's not nuclear.
Trekkie technobabble things, right?
Yeah.
Basically, what it comes down to is that these two things, these two parasites of kaiju, which I thought was actually an interesting idea, that these things aren't straight up giant monsters. They latch onto other things, which actually brought up a really cool question to me. Because in the very beginning, we find there's this cave, this giant cave, where there's two cocoons, I guess?
Yeah.
There's two cocoons. One is hatched, one is still there, but they're both in the skeleton of a giant monster.
Do they get that big?
I guess, like, that's how it was. Like, I mean, I was, like, hoping that we'd, like, have a little, like, what creature is that? Is that, like, Anguirus or Rodan or something? But you never find out. But I think that's still kind of cool.
I think that was a tad big for Rodan. Though.
Okay, but you know what I mean.
By the other giant monster scale, Rodan's kind of thorax is kind of less.
Okay. Now we're arguing.
Now
kaiju
I'm
bones.
like arguing.
So,
about
arguing.
so
Let's not do
basically, excuse me. Basically, one of them hatches or whatever, and it leaves and it recocoons itself in Tokyo, or no, sorry, just Japan. Like I think it was a made-up city.
Let's just go over how it hatched, because that's pretty important and that's pretty funny.
Oh yeah.
Because these guys, they find an egg that's throbbing because it's drawing radiation from the Earth's core. Let's go with that for a second, because that's the way they explain it in this movie, basically.
Wasn't it the fact that it literally burrowed its way underneath a nuclear power plant?
Something
That
like
too.
And it had been feeding off of the remnants of that plant for all those
That's
years.
why the movie started.
Yeah,
And that's why it started at the wreckage of that old plant.
Yes, but they sustained that egg with nuclear power.
Because they were screwing with it and testing it.
Guys, man doesn't understand the folly of trifling with nature. I don't think you understood that.
Yeah.
Man's greatest arrogance is that it believes that nature caters to it, or whatever.
And then I just want to say,
so
how high are you now, Ken? And he would just say, I'm up there.
absolutely,
I'm up there.
absolutely.
Sitting
yeah,
at about a 10.
They tried to explain it away by saying, "Oh, we were afraid that the nuclear fallout would kill hundreds of thousands of people. Why didn't you just kill it when it was young and still just sort of prematurely draining? And it was in the middle of a very large quarantined area that had just had a very large accident."
Paul, you don't understand. Man trifles with nature.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
That's it. That's the
Dumb movie
And they
reasons.
took the other fucking egg, and what did they do with it? They put it in the fucking place where they store the nuclear waste.
Okay.
What the fuck is wrong with you people?
That brought up to me the funniest aspect of this movie. No one sees giant things.
I know, right?
Like, how do you miss that?
No. The first one, I can kind of give it to them because
It's out in the jungle.
It was in a. They were all in a mine, so there was a loud equipment and shit going on, and in the middle of a jungle, it kind of burst out of the ground and kept going.
That's
I
fine.
give them that one, but the second one burst out of the side of a mountain in a military
Within
base.
view of Vegas.
With
Yes.
helicopters that were flying around the mountain.
And I sit there
and
and I go, bullshit! How the fuck did you miss that?
Actually, you know what my favorite one?
it's enormous.
You know what my favorite one was though? When the helicopters are shooting at Muto, and they just happened to miss that Godzilla was next to them.
Yeah, Godzilla, quietest giant monster
Oh
ever.
my god.
Where, not even that. When it first, made landfall in San Francisco, and, all the lights have go out, and, everybody's just on top of buildings, and it's all silent, and those couple military guys shoot the flares off in the air, and they bounce off of Godzilla, who's currently walking down the street.
Oh my god.
And I sit there how did you not hear that?
It is a 10-story tall giant fucking newt.
Godzilla walking down the street right next to these people,
Actually-
and they didn't hear it at all.
No,
It's the stealthiest giant monster ever.
My favorite part of that was actually when he creates the tsunami, he swims through the city.
Yeah.
Okay, but I gotta admit though, when Godzilla is in this movie, oh my god, is the camera making sweet love to that dino.
Oh,
hell
he is
yes.
shot beautifully, and his first appearance is done very well. With giant monsters, you always start with the feet. You build your way up. You build up. There's that big quiet moment. Then
Get up to his head and then. Brah!
Yeah.
Now because
I was like,
Now because I've seen this movie twice, I knew this was going to happen, because they gave Godzilla the very longest, most loudest, most triumphant opening roar ever, and the very first time I saw it, it legitimately caught me off guard and made me jump. During this particular viewing, I just went, okay, Cell's over there, he's seeing this right now, I'm gonna just do and I'm fine.
Yeah. I just sat there hell yeah.
yeah, no, he's gonna fight the giant monster, and
then he didn't.
There is a huge cock block in this movie.
Yeah,
but
that is my one major issue with this movie.
So-
that scene.
yeah,
in
the first time
Honolulu.
you go with Godzilla, you're about to see he roars at the Muto, and then it just cuts. It's done. It's
and
over.
then you see a little snippet of it on TV as
That
the
to me
kid is watching.
made me
on the
laugh. Because that to me was like a naked gun joke, where it's just where Frank Drebin is well, now, Crime Lord, I'm gonna have to fight you now. Yes, it'll be the greatest fight of all time. earlier today, Lieutenant Frank, and just in the background, you just see like a fight going on a little screen this big. Isn't that what it felt like?
That is exactly what that was.
You know what I loved this movie? Just with the use of news footage. Just like this woman's walking around and this kid's just sitting here watching this goddamn news footage. Like the main character's son, who we'll get to in a second in this review of this movie.
Promise.
Yes. His son is sitting there watching this news footage, and it's just like Godzilla and the two Muto fighting.
At that point, it was just the one.
It was just the one at that moment. Yeah.
It was the male at that point.
Godzilla and the Muto fighting, and this kid's just sitting there watching this thing, and for some reason, the main character's wife hasn't heard about any of this sort of stuff, hasn't seen anything. She's just, look, mommy, dinosaurs. And she just goes, well, goddamn, those are dinosaurs, aren't they?
It's like, what are you talking? Oh my goodness.
Oh dear.
I was really expecting them to go like to be stupid about it for a second and have it like, look, mommy, dinosaur. She looks, and now on to other news.
Honey, or no, it's like, honey.
Just like, honey, there's no such thing as dinosaurs.
I was half expecting
Anymore.
she'd look, just kind of stare. It's like, honey, stop watching Power Rangers.
Yeah.
You need to get ready for school.
So obviously fake. Look at those rubber suits.
I know, right?
So fake. You can see with the zippers.
Yeah.
So the main character, whose name is Ford, is played by the actor who played Kick-Ass. And he is the son of Walter White in this movie. I'm spacing right now.
Bryan
Cranston. Bryan Cranston. He's the son of Bryan Cranston, who lost his wife in the supposed nuclear meltdown. That was where they discovered the Muto spore.
Yeah.
And so Bryan Cranston has become crazy old man father, and
except as they usually are in these movies, he's totally right
he was
about
the
everything.
one guy who saw it coming.
Correct. Oh, perfect. The one guy who saw it coming.
There's always that one guy in these movies.
His son doesn't take him seriously. Apparently, the first time he tried breaking into the quarantined area because of all the radiation. He was taken away by the cops and just treated like a normal criminal. His son in America was fucking, like, notified about his arrest, and he came all the way to Japan just to get him out of a misdemeanor. And so they go back into the quarantine zone because they're like, oh, I sent your mother into that nuclear reactor when it went meltdown. I have to find out what happened to your mother, and I need to find out the truth. So his son, Kick-Ass is all just like, yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense.
Okay, you're speaking a little bit of sense, so I'm just gonna go with it for now. And
they find out there's no more radiation and stuff like that, and they make all of these completely incriminating discoveries that he totally would have made the first time that he went there. And
there's obviously not that much security running around in that quarantine zone.
And not to mention the fact that the first time he's picked up, he's just brought to the regular Japanese authorities, but the second time he's brought exactly to the people he needs to talk to.
Maybe they gave him a stern warning the first time.
Maybe the first time he didn't get very far in, he just got snagged by police right there.
Schematics, let's
Or maybe they're just kind of like Mustafa from the Austin Powers movies, only they need 2 times in order to be confronted. It's like, damn it, we can't if we don't like people coming back and snooping around. Now we have to tell you all of our secrets.
Yeah.
With this movie, I have to make a very grave truth. I kind of think the Roland Emmerich movie got it a little bit better. I'm not saying it's a better movie. I'm not. I'm saying that the Roland Emmerich movie at least made Godzilla a character in his own movie. You know what I mean? Like, Godzilla was featured heavily in that movie. You saw him breaking shit. You saw him doing stuff. And, you know, you grew to know... you grew to know the character of Godzilla. This one, he has 3 fucking scenes.
I'm going to disagree with you on the fact that Gino is more of a character in his own... Well, he is a prominent character in his own movie, and that is something that they can say about Gino over this particular iteration of Godzilla. However, they gave this Godzilla a characterization. I simply feel as though it was ill-timed. They portrayed him as I said before, the guardian of humanity, friend to the Japanese children, and being nice to everyone.
He's Gamera in this. But, okay, see, there's the problem. Why is he like that? Like,
that's my point entirely.
Let me say this, though. Because that's what I mean. That's why I think Zilla from 98 is a better thing. We understand what he wants. He wants to eat a lot of fish That's a lot of fish. But we got that joke out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to eat a lot of fish. Why? He's going to give birth soon. He needs to feed his offspring. There's your reason.
He's the Mudo.
Exactly. You reuse the same plot line in this. The Mudos are trying to breed.
Except in this case,
Oh.
Kick-Ass just drowned them in gasoline and blew them up.
Yeah.
Well, more or less.
They had the exact same shot too, where the mother is like looking at her babies and like, I swear to God, there's only 12 ideas in
There
Hollywood.
is so much Discovery Channel shit about the Mudo in this movie. We saw their mating habits. I leaned over to you and I was just like, and today on the Discovery Channel, we're going to be discussing the mating habits of the Mudo.
The male Muto will gingerly hand over the female Muto their food of choice, nuclear radiation.
Phallically shaped in order to assert its dominance in
The female has taken the offering. The male will now mount her.
How did they miss them fucking?
That would have been amazing!
How do you miss that?
I'm
sorry, I hate to be loud, but there's just certain things in this movie that have just, in this video, have clicked to me. And my biggest question right now is, how did you miss the kaiju doing it like they do on the Discovery Channel?
Wouldn't that have been amazing?
This scene has been censored for the good of all those small children that were in the movie theater.
Oh God, that's a lot of discharge.
Except all the small Japanese children who would have found kaiju sex amazing and like interesting, and so there's a cut of this movie that features the kaiju.
I don't know about you, but the showing of the movie I went to was full of 8-year-olds, and somebody brought their baby.
Okay, just straight up, don't bring a baby to a movie theater.
Yeah.
Period.
Especially not a Godzilla movie.
It's a Godzilla movie. God damn it. But yeah, the red eyes black mantises they liked to breed a lot, and there was a lot of them nuzzling and a lot of them just like handing each other food and having mating calls.
That's what I mean. Like, doesn't this? I mean, and who knows? Maybe this was their choice because, as we all know, the majority of Godzilla movies, like from back in the day, didn't start out as Godzilla movies. They were just giant monster movies. Then they threw in Godzilla just so it would make more money. And I'm like, part of me, I know this isn't true, but part of me goes, was that how this started? Was this just a giant monster movie? And they said, hey, this is going to coincide with Godzilla's 60th. Let's do this.
I've always... I mentioned this before to you, and I'm going to say this on the record right now. I feel as though the person who made this movie watched pretty much every single Godzilla movie ever made except the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has no idea how to characterize Godzilla as the very possible threat that it could be, because on a bad day where Godzilla is having her period and might not be as kind, though that happens just as often. We are established which is why we weren't all like, oh, Godzilla, king of the monsters, our protector sort of thing. The military in the original Godzilla movies were more or less always like, no, Godzilla's a pretty credible threat.
Yeah, mainly because that first movie was just Godzilla stomping his way through Tokyo.
If he was the villain.
Japan.
If we're looking at it from the behind the scenes perspective, everyone knows this. Godzilla was originally like a metaphor for nuclear power. That's why. This was a country that had witnessed it and experienced it. It's like less than 10 years prior. But the thing is, as Godzilla became more popular, look, here's the thing. The idea of a giant monster really appeals to a small child. It's a parent figure sort of thing, like something they can look up and be in both fear and awe of. That is why it works to children's levels. That is why Godzilla became a protector. They wanted to make him for the children. That is how that unfortunately evolved over time. And just now he's gotten in a way too famous for his own good. He's just this thing where we can't make Godzilla the straight up bad guy anymore. No. We have to make him, we can make him a bit destructive, yes. Actually, I recently read a comic called Godzilla King of the Monsters. Very good comic, by the way. Where they actually kind of... It's a throwaway line, but it still kind of makes sense. The whole thing is the kaiju have awakened, the majority of the kaiju we've seen in the movies, because 4 bad kaiju, that being Space Godzilla, Gigan, Hedorah, and Monster X, are coming to the planet, and they're going to actually fuck shit up. Mm-hmm. So Godzilla and his ragtag group of guys, they go out... and they want to destroy monsters. Now, here's what I like. They mention the fact the reason that the monsters destroy cities is because they're attracted to the radio signals that emanate from major cities, and they're just trying to get rid of it. So, I kind of like that idea, but they didn't really put that in this. Just straight up, Godzilla is trying to kill the Mudos. Why? if they had said, "Oh, that's his food source." Okay,
That's
fair
actually
enough.
what they did say.
But he didn't eat anything.
He is a force
Fair
of
point.
nature. When nature is out of balance, Gojira brings balance.
Yeah, like that. Like it got a little too okay.
They did refer to him as the Muto's predator.
It is
a couple of times.
but they more did it in the movie like he was just trying to straight up protect the
Yeah.
planet. Okay, look, if you want to make it that Godzilla is a sentient being, that's fine. It really is.
Yeah.
But you got to say that. You got to say Godzilla is a protector of the planet. You could even like. I know this movie wanted to go a bit more like we're going to go a bit more scientific route, so you can't say something like he has always been this planet's protector. He is the very soul of this planet. I know people don't want to say that because that's not realistic and greedy, man.
Except for the fact that at the very end, when Dr. Senagawa or whatever it was, Ken Watanabe's character's name, when he makes eye contact with Godzilla as Godzilla is just raising back up from the debris, there's that little moment of the Japanese wood flute there that just makes it sound like Godzilla's a kami or Godzilla's like a guardian spirit that will be with them forever. It's just that moment of mysticism. Like,
You said it like kami. I'm like kami. Oh, kami.
Yeah, no, that one. Japanese guy, yeah.
Yes.
Turtle god. And it's just like so. I think we can all agree the biggest problem with this was, unfortunately, Godzilla just wasn't in it. When he was in it,
was he in it.
making love to the camera, my
Oh,
friends.
yeah.
Can we talk about that finishing move?
Yeah.
You mean where Godzilla gave Muto a little too much tongue?
Eat it!
I gotta say,
Swallow
that
it,
was
bitch!
great. There was this amazing bit where, like, I was honestly wondering, okay, are they gonna give him his atomic breath? Yes,
Then
they
you see
do.
you see the tail light up, and
start
it's like,
lighting
oh,
up, you're like,
there we
oh,
go.
Here we go. He did it.
Yeah.
And then he killed the spoilers. He killed the male Muto. Actually, I think it was really cool how he did that one too. He used his other most known weapon, his tail. And he just smashes him into the building.
And
So
Like shoe fly.
very, very, very much looking like the way he killed Zilla in Final Wars.
Oh yeah.
and then
Just
he goes
tail
on.
smack him into the Sydney Opera House,
And then
and atomic breath for good measure.
And then he goes on to fight. The big female one with what I like to call the mama bird of doom.
Yeah.
Just regurgitating
Here-
atomic energy.
Here's your mouth. I got your mouth.
See, that was actually at first I thought, okay, is he gonna do that? But then I realized that they were paying homage to something there.
No, just that moment. Like at the very end, it's just like that side, the head to the side, the roar, and I'm just like, and Toho logo in the corner. And
Actually,
good.
I'm gonna bring up something else with that too. But actually, what I've noticed is they were actually doing an homage to like the most famous monster of the other most famous monster of all time, King Kong. Remember in the original movie how he killed the T-Rex? He broke it like this.
Yeah.
That it was like shot for shot, but then he added a bit of Godzilla flair.
That's pretty good.
Boom.
Just breath weapon down the throat.
There were a couple
down the
of
throat.
there were
Just a little too much tongue there, Godzilla.
Godzilla. Oh no, be nice. It's your first date. There were a lot of moments in this though where we realized this is paying homage to another movie featuring a two-legged reptile. Jurassic Park, and I know dinosaurs weren't reptiles. Whatever.
The intro.
The intro. It's the same shot with the helicopter.
All throughout that thing, I was like,
Over the green island. I was half expecting Hammond to come out like this. Welcome to Monster Island. There was like the whole like thing with like there's actually a very specific shot. There's this part where this guy like it's in the rain. He like wipes his thing the way Jeff Goldblum did in
Goldblum.
It was the same sound effect too.
It's Godzilla. It's Godzilla. It's a nuclear radiated lizard that lizard that we woke with nuclear power and that's chaos theory.
Is but on the other one you just reminded me that after Godzilla wipes out the female Muto where he gives that roar and like his tail flashes, I'm expecting the fucking when Kaiju ruled the earth banner to fall down like around him.
Yeah.
Just like that scene. Bitch.
Yeah.
I was like, when Godzilla was leaving the ocean, I was really hoping they'd put on some like cheesy Japanese music, Godzilla, my yayo. I was like, come on, throw that in.
Yeah, you know what? I would have loved that too.
See, now this is just an editing problem they had for me. something that I noticed, like, the final shot of this movie is Godzilla returning to the ocean, which I actually liked. But the thing too is, like, they kind of lingered a little too long on the water. So I was honestly expecting, oh, is something gonna pop out? Is another giant monster gonna pop out? And like the whole thing is like, but then Godzilla's like, I gotta deal with this shit now. Turns around, and, like, I was expecting that, but they didn't. That didn't happen. No, it didn't happen.
Nothing. Just water.
Credits.
Yeah.
So if they make a sequel to
straight
this,
in the credits.
so if they make a sequel to this,
been
barring the idea, because apparently, like, because they're both made by the same companies, Legendary is considering doing a Godzilla Pacific Rim crossover, which would be really cool. I'm wondering how they would do that, but it can be done. Like, if we're talking just on sheer what the companies are, it can be done.
Yeah. Hey.
But so other than that, though, if they make a just straight up sequel to this, what do you think it should be?
Well, what they're foreshadowing, Mothra.
Yeah, no kid. Yeah, but no, it would have to be something else. That would have to be in there too. It's not just
Because Mothra is a good guy.
Mothra is a good guy, and they're casting Godzilla as a good guy. So who's the villain?
Rodan.
Rodan's a good guy too.
They almost looked like they were teasing Rodan in the trailers too, but then it turned out.
He's going through all
then
the
it just
Easter
turned
eggs.
out to be a really
He's
weird.
going through the Easter eggs.
No, then it just turned out to be a weird camera angle for the male Muto flying by.
Which
It was
actually,
Muto.
straight up, I actually thought the Mutos were a cool design. They had kind of a
yeah,
with the legs, they had kind of a Cloverfield thing going on.
Like I said, red eyes, black mantis.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
With some Horus in there.
pretty much.
They look pretty cool pregnant.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh my God, the babies! Oh no,
Babies that didn't live.
Oh no!
You.
It's the
You destroyed my babies,
It's
Alden.
the
No!
same shot from the Roland Emmerich movie, where the mother is looking over the baby.
You killed my babies, and I
Who
really
did this?
hated Kick-Ass.
It's like, who did this? Makes loud noise when he backs up against the pole. Fuck.
It's like, I was like, really? You noticed that?
And the ding. Oh, you did it.
Of course he did. I mean, he's close. He must have done it.
That
Whether or
one
not-
tiny thing.
Whether you did it or not, I feel so bad for you, my friend, because I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, were there any things that you really enjoyed? Like, just like straight up, you're like, ooh, yay.
Bryan Cranston's...
Bryan Cranston was pretty
Bryan
good.
Cranston's, oh dear sweet God, it's my wife or my life face.
Yeah.
Just that, ah!
Yeah. He was a good actor in this.
Yeah.
Would have been nice to see
Fantastic.
more of him.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I said, Godzilla, when he's in it, he's awesome.
Oh,
the Mutos
yeah.
are awesome.
Muto, I like their design.
They're cool. Just the problem is there's just a bit way too much human bullshit in this. Like, I could give a fuck about your
I
wife.
understand, but at the same time, every Godzilla movie has
It
quite
did.
a load of
It
human
did,
bullshit. It's like tradition.
Yeah. But
It's
they
like
made up
they
for
all
it with,
got it.
They made up for it with great monster fights.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's what sets this apart.
But, yeah, but how about this though? Because even in the later Godzilla movies, look, I'm not gonna like argue about like the movies made in the let's say the 1980 back, because you know what, that was just a different time. The acting was there wasn't the standard for acting yet. So from let's say 1980 on, and I mean there were a few bad ones obviously, but I even like in the other Godzilla movies when there was the human element, but it was at least entertaining. It was at least compelling the way they were talking. See, to me, the only thing they really got right with the human elements in this movie was all the technobabbly, like, oh, we're going to explain this monster now. We're going to talk about what we're going to do here. That felt very Godzilla. But when every other scene is, hey, honey, I'm going to make it home. Are you sure? Yeah. Okay. I'm not too sure, though.
Yeah. Didn't make it home.
Yeah. Hey, how's the kid?
Can you
Is
bring
he okay?
Can you
Okay.
bring some milk? Probably not.
Probably not gonna happen.
The cows are all dead.
Yes.
Yeah, convenience stores are pretty fucked up. I mean, this thing's got 2,400 attack points, lady. I mean, all of the milk is gone.
All of it.
I'm so sorry,
All the milk.
but 2,400 attack points.
And Grandpa's dead.
And Grandpa's dead. No one can make us meth anymore, hon.
Oh, no.
There's no more meth. All we've got is those kilos and kilos and kilos of meth that we've got at home that he sent us for Christmas.
And some kid that keeps saying bitch.
Bitch.
Yeah.
Hey, sweetheart. just I'm on a bit of jet lag, so I can't know. How long did the events in this movie happen? I still don't know. This could have honestly happened within 3 days.
Yeah.
That's just a little thing.
Yeah.
This movie has a horrible sense of time.
Yeah, it's just like, wait, what is the time frame here? Like, when did this start? When did this end? The way it's shot, it could honestly be said, like every time you're in a country is like 1 day. It's just like, oh.
Yeah.
In the end, I think the only thing we can really say about this movie is that it was a great subsequent Godzilla movie that didn't know whether it was going to be a reboot, a remake, or a reimagining,
or even a straight up sequel.
It had its confusion about what it was and what it wanted to be, and in the end, a great Godzilla movie balances the human drama with great monster action, and this movie just fell short on that. It's a fun watch. It's a great monster movie. The special effects are great, almost on par with Pacific Rim. In terms of pure visuals, the monsters may even look a tad better and more defined, but that's only because the way that Pacific Rim was shot was it's in the dark, and we see kaijus and robots fighting in the dark and the rain, and it's always dark and raining.
Well, in this movie, we saw them fight at night in the fog.
Yeah, but we also got some daytime fights. We got some daytime shots. We got some pretty decent shots, and the CGI wound up looking great for it. But, in the end, the lack of action was the problem. There was way too much of scenes of, hey look, the kaiju, and people. And hey look, Godzilla, and what's Walter White's kid doing? And hey look, explosions and fights and stuff like that, and his wife is there over there and she's running away. Too much focus on the boring things, too much cock teasing of the action. I feel like they're listening to us filmmakers are listening to us telling them to be more subtle and saying, okay, well we're just gonna hold our load to the end and then splooge all over the film. That's what this was. It was a splooge. It was a great big splooge.
And what a splooge it was.
Yes, it was a breath weapon of a splooge.
You know what this was?
We were mopping the ceilings.
This is one of those wanks you have where you're not sure if there's someone else in the house, so you're just doing it, but you're not really enjoying yourself throughout. But because it's taking so goddamn long, when that moment does happen, it's just amazing.
For fuck's sakes, finally.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh god, thank god, they're out of the house.
I haven't had a decent idea all throughout this wank. I'm just doing this for the sake of jizzing, so just... come on. Oh, finally. Oh, I have to go to confession.
Alright, so I think that about covers the movie.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
So, barring my ejaculation habits, that's our video, and I'm Paul.
I'm Raven.
I'm Cell Saga.
And this has been Night at the Theatah, Godzilla Edition.
Godzilla Edition, where they even managed to throw in one pagoda getting destroyed.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Bye.